In a decentralized system, how can we trust the information we receive? This is Libertarian View, your source of decentralized and distributed information. This article was written by Marco Battaglia and narrated by Rafael Oliveira. Trust is something that is part of our lives. We establish relationships based on trust all the time, whether in our personal lives, our professional lives, or in our business transactions. Trust is something that is difficult to earn but easy to lose. But there are situations when deciding whether to trust people we don't know is vital. For example, when we get into an Uber, will the driver kidnap or rob us? We don't think so, do we? Otherwise, we wouldn't even use the app. When we call an Uber, we are trusting the company's certification process. Similarly, when we take a jab, we are trusting the state certification process. We expect it to deliver what it promised and not to cause side effects. In these two examples, we are placing our trust in a centralized organ, be it a company or a government agency. In situations like these, it is up to each individual to weigh the pros and cons and decide whether to trust that organ. But imagine another situation, one in which there is no central organ and which information is distributed among several agents. Imagine the following. You are a Byzantine general living in the 15th century. You are part of an army that is trying to conquer Vienna. You are the leader of one of the 8 platoons that have reached the gates of the city and surrounded it. The Viennese are inside the wall that surrounds the city. They have provisions to hold out for a long time and are well armed. They will fight bravely to defend what is theirs. You and the other Byzantine generals need to decide. You cannot maintain the siege forever. You must decide whether to attack or to retreat. The problem is that you know that this decision must be unanimous. Either everyone attacks or everyone retreats. If only part of the platoons attack, they will be massacred by the Viennese forces. If part of the platoons retreat, those that remain will be attacked by the Viennese and massacred. At night, you make a decision. All platoons should attack the city the next morning, as soon as the sun rises. But the platoons are a few miles apart from each other. The only way to transmit the information is to send messengers on horseback. Then you send 2 messengers to the nearest generals. But there is where the danger lies. What if one of these messengers is a traitor and passes on the wrong information? What if he's killed? What if one of the generals has been bought off and decides not to attack and not to relay the information? You see, if the information is not transmitted correctly to all generals and they do not act accordingly, defeat is certain. For the action to be successful, there must be a consensus. This is a famous problem known as the Byzantine generals problem. It is an issue related to game theory and describes the difficulty for decentralized entities to reach consensus without relying on a trust central entity. In other words, in a decentralized system, how can individuals reach consensus before making a crucial decision? This problem was proposed by the computer scientist Robert Shostak in 1978. Note that only decentralized systems suffer from this problem, since they have no reliable source of information and no way to verify the information they receive from other members of the network. In centralized systems, there is an authority, a sort of watchdog that we trust to determine the veracity of the information and to prevent false information from spreading. However, as we well know, centralized systems are very vulnerable to corruption of the central authority. As the old saying goes, who watches the watchman? Centralized systems are also very vulnerable because of their intrinsic dependence on the central authority. If something happens to it, the whole system collapses. Money is a good example for the problem of Byzantine generals. How should a society determine the money that all citizens trust? For a long time, various societies choose gold. However, the difficulty of verifying its purity inevitably leads to a centralization of the system. We need a central entity, usually a state entity, to certify its purity. This is precisely what allowed the states to gradually take control of the entire monetary system. As expected, this centralized system allowed the states to change, devalue, and confiscate the money used by the population, culminating in the fiat currencies that we are forced to use today. For a money to solve the Byzantine general's problem, it needs to be verifiable, unfalsifiable, and trustless. It was only with the creation of Bitcoin that this was achieved. As a monetary system, Bitcoin needed a way to manage property and prevent double spending. To achieve this, Bitcoin uses a blockchain, a sort of distributed ledger that stores the history of all transactions. In the analogy with Byzantine generals, the truth that all entities need to agree on is this ledger. It is the blockchain. If all nodes in the network can agree on what transactions we have been made and in what order, they can verify who owns the bitcoins, maintaining a monetary system that does not depend on a central organ. Bitcoin solves the Byzantine general's problem by using a so-called proof of work. To add a new block of information to the chain, one member must solve a mathematical riddle before the others. This riddle involves drawing a number. The task itself is easy. It's just a draw, but finding a number that satisfies the riddle is extremely unlikely. That is why a great deal of computing power is required. This imposes costs on the members who are trying to solve the charade, the so-called miners. The high costs encourage the miners to publish only true information. In addition, the algorithm used to encrypt the information contained in the new block allows it to be quickly and easily checked by the other nodes in the network. And what happens if there is a traitor general on the scene trying to spread false information? The nodes in the network immediately notice the fraud, recognize the new block as invalid, and ignore it. If the information contained in the new block is correct, it is added to the chain. The member that solved the charade first gets a reward, again encouraging honest behavior. Since each node can check all the information, there is no need to trust the other members of the network. This leads to that consensus that the Byzantine generals sought. Incentives are aligned in a way that rewards good behavior and punishes bad behavior. In a nutshell, Bitcoin solves the Byzantine general's problem using what has become a catchphrase: don't trust, verify. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit the like button and share this video on your social network. If you want to be notified from other videos, hit the subscribe button and then the bell icon. See you soon!